G'day guys and welcome to ReDriven. Now, the used car market has gone absolutely crazy of late, with many second-hand cars costing more than their new car equivalents. Like, whoever thought we'd see 200 series Toyota LandCruisers swapping hands for more than $250,000? But there's an exclusive segment of the used car market that laughs with utter disdain at such paltry sums of money like $250,000. Forget the latest, greatest new Bugatti or Pagani or some one-off custom Rolls Royce. We're talking the serious players here. These are the cars that only the ultra-wealthy can afford. Now look, obviously there is a certain level of secrecy at this end of the market, and not all the sale prices are publicly listed, but these are the cars that we've been able to verify to the best of our abilities. Also, we've adjusted all the pricing for inflation and we've converted it into Australian dollars because, well, we're Australian. Also, to keep things spicy, we've skipped a couple of specific models because they're pretty much just repeats of cars that are already on this list. So, what can you buy when you finally sell all of that Bitcoin that you've been hoarding, or you're watching this video and your name is Elon? Here are the top 5 most expensive cars of all time. Okay, kicking things off, it is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful cars of all time. It's the 1956 Aston Martin DBR1. As one of the most successful English racing cars from the golden age of sports car racing, the DBR1 took out the 1959 World Sports Car Championship, plus that year's Le Mans 24-hour, Tourist Trophy and Nürburgring race. Only 5 DBR1s were ever produced, with only 3 of those actually competing. But the big question is, how much do one of these things cost? Well, back in 2017, chassis number 1 sold for $31,893,268. Now, to put that into perspective, considering the DBR1 weighs in at 810 kilograms, that's nearly $40,000 per kilo. Okay, next up, and making the $30 million Aston Martin feel like a bit of a bargain, it's the 1954 Mercedes W196R. How much are we talking here? Well, back in 2013, a W196R swapped hands for an eye-watering $44,056,000. Again, when we're talking such incredible sums of money, we feel it's important to attempt to put things into perspective. For your just north of $44 million, you could potentially buy the old Mercedes here, or 2,593 brand new Kia Picanto S's. Plus, the nearly 2,600 Kia Picanto S's come with a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, something that we're pretty sure the old Mercedes doesn't have. So, if you choose the W196 over the army of Picantos, what do you get for your millions? Well, engine-wise, you'll have a 1950s Formula 1 derived 2.5 litre straight 8-cylinder engine producing up to 340 horsepower, which, remember, was incredible for the time. And speaking of Formula 1, the actual car that sold for this staggering amount of money, which was chassis 0006-54, is the most successful of all of the surviving W196R cars, of which there are only 10 remaining. And this car is the only one in private hands, with all of the other 9 still being owned by Mercedes. Plus, just to justify the many millions it sold for, this car was driven by the great Juan Manuel Fangio to win the 1954 German, Swiss and European Grand Prix. Is it worth the money? Let us know in the comments. Okay, next up, it is the 1957 Ferrari 335S chassis number 0626. Back in 2016, this beautiful Ferrari sold at auction for a staggering $51,586,000. $51.5 million, and we're only at 3rd place. Now again, to put that sort of money into perspective, you could go and buy one of every current model Ferrari, plus one of every current model Lamborghini, plus one of every current model McLaren and Aston Martin. And you could do that 3 times and still have $63,412 left over. So what does this old Ferrari give you instead of dozens and dozens of the latest exotic cars? Well, out of the 4 made, only 3 survive, so it's pretty bloody rare. It's powered by a Vittorio Jano designed V12 racing engine, which propelled it to speeds in excess of 300 kilometres an hour in the 1950s. 300 kilometres an hour is terrifying even in a modern car that's designed to do 300 kilometres an hour, let alone in this thing. It was driven by some of the all-time greatest racing drivers of the period, and it is famous for bringing home the World Manufacturers' Championship in 1957, but it also successfully competed in countless other races. And you could almost argue that a car this gorgeous is actually art. So compared to, say, a Picasso, which costs more than double the price of this, yet just sits on your wall, let alone being able to transport you down to your local cafe for an espresso, the old Ferrari is a bit of a bargain. Okay, now in second place, we actually had a bit of a tie, but we'll get to that in a minute. The second most expensive car of all time is a Bugatti, but forget like Veyrons and Chirons or anything modern. They're just for the rich. This thing is for the wealthy. It's the 1937 Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. It pays to be fashionable, and it especially pays if you're the person dictating that fashion. In 1988, fashion icon Ralph Lauren parted with, adjusted for inflation, approximately $56 million to get his talented hands all over this piece of automotive history. Only 4 were produced, but only 3 are accounted for, with the elusive last remaining model's whereabouts still a mystery after its original owner's death. The classic Bugatti was and will forever be a one-of-a-kind vehicle in terms of elegance, luxury, and performance. The Type 57 SC Atlantic is one of the most sought-after, influential, and collectible vintage vehicles available, hence the stratospheric price tag. Now again, to put this crazy figure into perspective, like when you see someone driving a new $500,000 Ferrari, they're clearly doing very well for themselves. Let alone seeing someone driving a brand new $5.5 million Bugatti Chiron Supersport. That's just crazy. But for the price of the Type 57 SC Atlantic, you could have 10 Chiron Supersports, plus $181,000 left over to buy, I don't know, a 200 series Toyota LandCruiser. Now guys, if you're enjoying this video, can I ask a favor? Can you please hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons? It helps us out so much. And after the video, go and check us out on the socials. Okay, in first place, technically, it could have been a few variants of the one car, which is a Ferrari 250 in Testarossa and in GTO form, either as a Berlinetta or a Scaglietti. They're all amazing, and a couple of them have sold for around about the same price as the Bugatti Type 57, hence why it could have been a tie for second place. But there's one Ferrari 250 GTO that tops them all. Now look, next time you have a random and crazy idea for an invention or a business idea, maybe stick with it and work your bum off to make it a success, because that's what David McNeil did with car floor mats and his company WeatherTech. All of his hard work has clearly paid off, as Mr. McNeil has amassed a fortune, which has allowed him to hand over $70 million for this Tour de France winning 1963 Ferrari 250 GTO. Thanks to this transaction, chassis number 4153 GT is believed to be the most expensive car in the world. Although, compared to the previous cars on this list, the 250 GTO is almost common. 36 examples were built between 1962 and 1964. And look, while there's no doubt that the 250 GTO in general is special with its race-derived V12 and impossibly beautiful design, it's important to know that each 250 GTO is completely unique. As each car was handcrafted, updated, or even repaired during their lifetimes, the configurations of body, interior, engine, brakes, and suspension all vary across the remaining 250 GTOs. And again, to put that truly immense price into perspective, remember back with the Ferrari 335S and how you could buy one of every new Ferrari and Lamborghini and McLaren and Aston Martin 3 times over? Well, instead of parting with $70 million for the 250 GTO, you could still get all of those cars, plus the Samson Key private island in the Bahamas, and your very own brand new custom-built racetrack, and still have money left over. Look, I know at ReDriven we normally focus on the far more realistic segment of used cars, but like occasionally it's a bit of fun and possibly a little bit depressing to look at this crazy end of the market. But guys, we want to know, what did you think of the list? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, can you please hit those like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons if you enjoyed this video? And after this video, go and check us out on the socials. See you next time. I'm getting all these lines right. What does that mean for bloopers? Well, blah, 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 is the most successful of all of the... This car was driven by the great Juan Manuel Fangio. Really bad with international names. This car was driven by the great Juan... Okay, next up it is the... What is it? I have no idea. This beautiful... Oh, I dropped the script. It's okay. It's all good. Cal, it's okay. I've got it sorted. It's powered by Vittorio, here we go, Italian name. It's gonna be fun. Vittorio Jano. Can you hit those like, subscribe, and bell, my brain stopped.